name is Dan Wagner. I am the Vice President of Strategic Accounts and Services with Triple S. Hopefully you have heard of Triple S, but if you're not familiar with what Triple S is essentially a nationwide distribution network that represents about 120 community, traditional, janitorial, sanitation, hygiene, safety distributors across the United States. At one point, we were likely known as a buying group because the primary reason that a lot of companies would join a group like Triple S was to get preferred pricing from suppliers. But we really pride ourselves on being a partner with our members in order to help them deliver the right tools and resources to their customers. And I use the word partner specifically because just as we try to position ourselves as a partner to our members, like Cave Sanitary, we've also challenged our members to stop being, quote, Jan-San distributors and to start being true business partners. You know, Clint and Dan and the rest of the Cave team, they recognize that there are an ever-increasing number of options that you can go to in order to procure your cleaning chemical and your mops and your buckets and your, hand sanitizer and your wipes and your paper towels and toilet paper and all that stuff. But where they really, really, really shine is in the area of expertise and in the area of being a partner that delivers real solutions to your issues. And that was really the impetus behind the development of the program that we're going to share with you today, which we refer to as the Partners in Protection program. And what Partners in Protection is really all about is responding to the current challenge that we are all facing. But we've also developed the Partners in Protection program in a manner which we hope leads school custodial services into the future and is able to establish a comprehensive program that not only responds to the current COVID-19 pandemic and all the challenges that we face as a result of coronavirus, but also allows us to be in the best position to protect the health and the safety of our students, our teachers, and our staff members, regardless of whether we're facing COVID or we're facing norovirus or we're facing MRSA or, who knows what the next great pandemic's going to be. And so while certainly none of us wish a pandemic had occurred, it really represents a very unique crossroads for us to reassess exactly what our school custodial services look like, what we are doing from an investment standpoint in order to once again protect the health, the safety, and the well-being of the occupants within our schools, and to make sure that we are in fact doing everything possible to keep everyone healthy. And so the time really is now. Dan and Clint and myself, we've talked about this whole concept of the power of clean or the value of clean, and demonstrating that when we make an investment in effective cleaning, we can in fact have a positive impact on all of those business outcomes that you as school leaders care about, whether it's student attendance or student performance on standardized test scores or just in the classroom in general, or teacher health and substitute teacher costs and state funding and all those things. The time is truly now. This is the moment when we can, as I said a few seconds ago, reimagine what school custodial operations look like. And I always use this graphic here from one of my favorite movies. I happen to be a bit of a Disney nerd. And so if you don't learn anything else today, please know that if you haven't spent the 90 minutes to watch the movie Coco, you should take that time because it's amazing. You can smile, Dan. I'm sure you've seen it. But anyway, the Partners in Protection program was truly created to respond to this whole concept of the new normal, the things that we keep hearing about. And the truth be told, there is a genuine concern about COVID-19, and there are dramatically heightened expectations when we look at how the parents of our students and our teachers and our staff members and what they now expect out of the schools and the school districts in order to do everything that you can to protect their health and their safety. And so it is up to all of us to instill that confidence to where when a parent, is worried about sending little Johnny and little Janie to the school, that they feel confident that yes, there's no undue risk in terms of allowing them to have in-person learning. And the teachers say, yes, I know that I am going to expose myself to X number of people over the course of the day, but I also know that operations are set up so that I have the lowest risk possible of contracting whatever public health outbreak may exist. And once again, it is about more than COVID. It's about all the other public health threats that are out there as well. But what we see as we consider this new normal is that cleaning and disinfection has become a basic safety precaution. It is something that we have to do. We cannot skip out on it. We have to truly make an investment in order to deliver a clean, healthy indoor environment. And by the way, I use the words clean and healthy interchangeably, because for an environment to be clean, it is by definition going to be healthy. And the end user groups that you may be aware of and may even be a member of have recognized this as well. But they also recognize the very real budgetary constraints and challenges that you face. The Association of School Business Officials International, ASBO, coupled with the AASA, which is the Superintendent's Association, they put out an infographic after performing a study noting that it is likely going to cost school districts the average school district just a little under $1.8 million in order to implement all the protocols necessary to have schools in a condition and to create an environment that helps reduce that risk. And when we think about custodial services specifically, they have put that at just under $450,000 in new expenses for additional custodial staff to increase cleaning and disinfection protocols. Now, I am guessing that there are very, very few schools that have a spare $450,000 in their pocket and are just dying to spend it on something. And so when we think about how can we implement protocols, how can we adopt a new custodial program that will take us into the future, listen, we have to consider the budgetary implications. And so what we all find ourselves desperate for is guidelines, is a series of recommendations that are detailed enough to make things as easy as possible that we can immediately implement in order to not only instill that confidence and meet those increased expectations, but also do it in the most cost-effective manner possible. And so where do we look? We look to the so-called authorities. We look to the CDC. We look to the public health agencies. We look to our local governments. We look to all these so-called, once again, authorities. And what kind of guidelines, what kind of recommendations do we find? We find things like clean and disinfect high-touch surfaces frequently. And of course, wash hands more often. In other words, as my angry little cat there in the corner says, thanks for nothing. Because the guidance that is coming from all these authorities is lacking the necessary detail. And, anytime we use the words frequently or as needed or as required, right? We know that those are very, very subjective terms that can mean very different things to different people. And so what we have set out to do through the Partners in Protection program is make it as easy as possible for all the school districts to implement a comprehensive program that helps minimize that risk. And we base this program on best practices that come from the experts. You see, I'd like to take a second to applaud everybody for simply working with your community JanSan partner, right? Not distributor, but partner, who is a true expert, who have dedicated their careers to knowing everything that there is to know about delivering and creating a clean, healthy indoor environment to protect the well-being of occupants. And by implementing these programs, we can take at least one thing off of our very, very full plate. I mean, when I think about the things that you guys are dealing with as you look at reopening schools, custodial, while it is an extremely important piece, and while we know that effective cleaning and disinfection has become a basic safety precaution, is only a small piece of the puzzle. You're dealing with social distancing, you're dealing with PPE, do the children have to wear masks? How are we gonna handle, meals? How are we gonna handle recess? How about our athletic programs? The list goes on and on and on and on and on. And you get new challenges every single day. And things might change by the hour. What you think might work at 1 o'clock on a Thursday is out the window by 9 o'clock on a Friday. I mean, heck, just last night, we had heard rumors that Governor Pritzker was going to come out today and say that we were going to have all remote learning at the beginning of school year this year. And while now it appears as though that rumor was just, fed by the social media monster and that is not going to happen, we don't know what the future looks like. But one thing we do know is that when we base our programs on best practices and when we truly rely on the experts, we can make it as easy as possible. And that is precisely what we have set out to do for K through 12 schools specifically. And once again, I really cannot stress this enough. It is about so much more than COVID-19. This is about every single public health outbreak or threat that may exist in the future. What we are going to seek to do through the Partners in Protection Program is establish, once again, a comprehensive cleaning, sanitizing, and disinfection program that will last you into the future and that will become the new normal, regardless of what the current health climate looks like. Okay, let's get into the actual program. The program itself is divided into 3 key steps or sections. First, we have establish for protection. This is where we are going to set the new standards. This is where we are going to first define and then adopt the new protocols for cleaning, sanitizing, and disinfection, where we are going to define exactly what needs to be serviced, how often it needs to be serviced, and who is going to actually perform the cleaning, sanitizing, or disinfection practices. And then we get into step number 2, which is educate for protection. And here it's all about education and training, making sure that everybody who will be asked to play a role, everybody who is going to be asked to help keep our school environments clean and healthy is positioned for success, understands first and foremost why effective cleaning and disinfection is so important, and then understands how. How do we go about using the products? How do we go about performing the procedures? And so everybody is in fact in the best position for success. And then step 3, inspect for protection, making sure that we are in fact living up to the expectations of the parents and of the staff and of the teachers by going around and implementing a monitoring program and then also reporting, because we want to brag about our success. We can demonstrate and we can help build that confidence that is oh so important. So 3 key steps of this brand new program: establish for protection, educate for protection, inspect for protection. Now the whole program starts with a number of different introductions and summaries. And what these introductions and summaries are intended to do is to provide general information about the different sections or steps of the program. These are documents that you will, and by the way, you will have full access to all of these different materials through CABE Sanitary. But what these do is essentially provide all the background information, and these are tools that you can use and share with your staff and share with your teachers and share with the parents in order to make sure they understand the program that you have adopted and exactly what it is you're doing to protect little Johnny and Janie and Mrs. Jones in the 3rd grade class. So there's different sections that indicate directions on how specifically to use the program and that truly outline all the different details that are built into the different sections. The other key document that I want to mention at the very start is a series of basic cleaning and disinfection principles. You know, it never ceases to amaze me as I see all these commercials and I read different articles about, you know, that feature what different organizations are doing in order to clean and sanitize and disinfect. And it really, and I'm sure that Dan and Clint are going to smile and laugh at this, but it never ceases to amaze us at how many times we see people doing things wrong, right? And ignoring these basic cleaning and disinfection principles, because yes, we understand that we need to meet the heightened expectations. That is a very real goal. And we understand we need to instill confidence. That is also a very real and important goal. But we also understand that the end goal, the ultimate goal, the most important thing that we can do is limit transmission, is to actually protect the health and the safety of the occupants within our schools. And doing so necessitates or demands that we meet certain cleaning and disinfection principles. Things like making sure we're complying with the dwell time, keeping the surface wet long enough for the chemical, the substance to do its work. Things like making sure that if we're not using a cleaner / disinfectant, that we are in fact cleaning the surface before we disinfect. All the different best practices that are designed to not only make things as easy as possible for those who are responsible for cleaning, but also make sure that we are in fact meeting that ultimate goal, which is a clean and healthy, safe indoor environment. So let's get in now to the heart of the program, the meat, the detail. And that is the set of cleaning and disinfection protocols that lay out with detail exactly what needs to be cleaned / disinfected, how often the surface item or area needs to be cleaned and disinfected, who will be responsible for performing the service, how often it will be monitored and inspected, and also setting forth a priority level, because as we all know, of course, we need to focus on the high touch and the high risk objects. So what we have set out to do is to define exactly what those are. You know, for the longest time, we've really focused a lot of our attention in schools on the floors, correct? And we certainly don't want to ignore the floors, but we also recognize that when we're facing a public health pandemic, that unless we have students and teachers that are crawling on the floor and licking the floor, that there isn't a large level of or risk of transmission in those areas. And so where our attention really needs to be spent is on those high touch items, the desks, the chairs, the drinking fountains, and all of those other things. Now, as you're about to see, because I'm going to show you a screenshot of the actual protocols, it also includes very specific hand hygiene specifications. The protocols are available by room, different rooms within a school. They're also available by day, and they're also available as a traditional scope of work document. So here we have a screenshot, and I'm sure that this is difficult to see, but one of the things that I will be doing is I will be sending this presentation over to Clint and Dan, and they can then share it with you. And of course, once again, you're going to have full access to all these materials through your relationship with CABE. But as we see here, if you look along the bottom of this Excel sheet, you will see all the different room types that are available, that are present in a school building. Shared classroom, general classrooms, restrooms, kitchen, cafeteria, athletic area and gymnasium, locker room, office space, entrance and hallways, exterior, library, nurse's office. If you were to scroll to the right, you'll find all the general office areas. You'll find one for transportation. This document essentially includes all the areas that you could possibly care about. And then at the top, it defines the specific applicability. So here, for example, this is for the shared classroom. It says the following protocols apply to classrooms where multiple groups of students will be present over the course of the school day. This includes general shared classrooms as well as art rooms and computer labs. It's got the specific hand hygiene specifications. So in this case, optimally, each classroom should have a hand sanitizer dispenser, and students should be encouraged to wash or sanitize their hands upon entering the classroom. It has your any additional products that will specifically be needed, and then it has special features and notes. But the real heart of this program, once again, is in the details. And so as we can see here, and I'm going to go to the next slide where I've blown up the very first line, it has all those questions answered. First and foremost, what surface item needs to be serviced? The desks. What process should be used to safeguard health? We should use wipes. How important is it? What is the priority level? Well, given that the desks are high touch objects, especially in a shared classroom, the priority is high. How often should the surface item be serviced? Multiple times per day. Who will be responsible for servicing the surface item? Here is where we are recommending a collaborative cleaning approach. And here is where we tackle that seemingly monumental challenge of budgetary concerns. Because what we seek to do under the Partners in Protection program is we seek to give everybody and ask everybody to play an active role by making everybody responsible for their own area. So in the case of this, as you will see, the primary individual who will be responsible for taking care of the desks are the students, with the backup being a teacher or staff. And then how often should the surface item be inspected? On a weekly basis in order to make sure that we are instituting that level of accountability. Now, we recognize that there will be school districts that shake their heads and say, I'm crazy for even suggesting that we put wipes in the hands of a student. And we recognize that. So as we look in the notes area, we see that the best practice is for each new student to take a wipe from the canister dispenser at the front of the room and wipe their desk upon entering the classroom. But we've also put other options for those schools who are hesitant to allow students to use wipes by saying, if the school is not comfortable having students use wipes, have a teacher/staff member wipe all desks prior to the arrival of a new group of students. And if you look at the final bullet point under that particular note section, this is where we're going to help reduce the financial impact of the cleaning and disinfection program, because this new protocol replaces nightly cleaning by custodial staff. You see, everybody is panicking, is freaking out over these additional costs of having to hire more custodians, more cleaning professionals. Under the Partners in Protection program, we don't think that that will necessarily be required, and we believe that we can save on those additional costs. And what you'll find once again is that there is a similar protocol for literally every item, every surface, and every area throughout the school building. Now, we also recognize that one size does not fit all. And so these documents are made available in a customizable, editable Excel format that will allow you, in cases where maybe you don't like the protocols, maybe you think they're impractical for your specific circumstances, where you can make those changes and make sure that they meet your specific situation. Here's an example of what the protocols look like by day in a more traditional scope of work format. So here you can see, for example, for the classroom, the shared classroom, we're going to ask the teachers, the student, or the staff multiple times per day to wipe the desks, to wipe the chairs, to wipe the shared computer/tablets, to wipe or disinfect the sink if applicable. The teacher or another assigned individual in the morning will wipe his or her desk and chair, wipe or disinfect the door knobs and handles, wipe and disinfect the light switches, and on and on and on, laying out exactly what needs to be cleaned, when it needs to be cleaned, and who will be responsible. Now, a couple of other points worth noting within the protocols themselves. When you have a chance to go through them, you will see that there are also a number of recommendations that try to reduce the need to clean overall. So for example, we recommend that drinking fountains not be used or be converted into refillable water stations. We recommend that in the case of doorknobs, that if it doesn't violate security requirements, that doors be left open at all times, because once again, if the door is open at all times and nobody's touching the handle, we don't need to go around and clean and disinfect it every single hour. We recommend that lights be kept on all day in order to prevent people from touching the lights. We recommend that any and all storage cabinet handles be touched by only one individual. Because the other key important point to keep in mind with regards to the protocols is they have to be practical. Once again, I know we recognize that schools are facing so many challenges, and we know that half of what you are being told to do is downright impractical, if not impossible. And we want to avoid that, right? We want to try to make it, once again, the key word here is easy. We want to make it practical. We want to make it easy. We want to set forth a system that is achievable, that is doable, and that leads to outcomes that are in fact achievable. A little bit more about this collaborative cleaning concept. Once again, it's based on it being everyone's responsibility. It's based on everyone playing an active role and being responsible for their personal area, but keeping in mind, once again, that safety remains paramount, okay? Personally, while the best practice is for the student to take a wipe, I don't think it's a good idea for a first grader to take a wipe and wipe his or her desk. Junior in high school? Absolutely. Eighth grader? I think so. Sixth grader? Well, that depends on your level of risk, right? But the key is safety is paramount, and that's why the program provides options. Now, along with these protocols, we have to understand exactly what products and supplies we're going to need. So along with the protocols, we put forth a recommended product inventory sheet with a full inventory for the facility. It's a list of products needed by room in order to carry forth the protocols. And coming very soon, because we recognize that all the schools across the United States suddenly found themselves, when COVID-19 exploded, desperately needing hand sanitizer and desperately needing wipes. And we want to avoid that situation in the future. So coming soon as part of phase 2 of this program, we are hopeful to set up an emergency pandemic response program where somehow we make sure that the inventory is always available should something like this happen, either on a grand scale like COVID-19, or how about on a local scale? What if you find yourself with a norovirus outbreak within your school? Right? Now, we believe that by implementing these protocols, we can prevent that from happening, or at least substantially reduce the risk of it happening. But in case it does happen, we want to make sure you've got the right inventory on hand to respond to it. But there are no wipes. Now, Clint and Dan were telling me earlier that they're actually in a position where they're making their own wipes, which is awesome because it puts it ahead of a lot of others, trust me, in around the country right now. Much of the program truly does rely on the plentiful availability of wipes. But as a reminder, this is intended to be a long-term solution and ensure the health of the school environment for years to come. I cannot stress that enough. Yes, COVID-19 is the impetus for this program. Yes, I believe it should be the trigger that forces schools around the country to adopt a program, if not the Partners in Protection program, something very similar, but it needs to respond to COVID, to norovirus, to the Dan Wagner disease, which might come and try to kill us all in the year 2041 or whatever comes next. Because, the truth of the matter is, we've known that this was coming for quite some time. The CDC, the public health authorities have always warned us that it was not a matter of if, it was a matter of when. And we know that this is going to happen every X number of years, and we need to be in a position to respond to it. And once again, I applaud you. I applaud you for working with true experts in the cleaning industry who can help you be creative in order to respond to any supply shortages that exist. Okay, Established for protection, once again, it's all about the protocols. And it's all about the details that are missing from the guidance from the authorities. But then we get into step 2, which is educate for protection. And this is where it's all about comprehensive training and education. Training to be driven through the experts to make sure, once again, that everybody who is going to be responsible, every single stakeholder, understands why cleaning is so important. You know, even if we weren't in a COVID-19 environment, excuse me, even if we were not in a COVID-19 environment, I would stand on my soapbox and I would say, Jesus, everybody, you got to invest in training. And you've got to help your custodians and your cleaning service professionals understand the importance of the job they do. That it is not their job to wipe toilets. And it is not their job to clean floors. It is their job to keep the students, staff, teachers, and school guests healthy, and to provide a learning environment that is conducive to success. That is their job. That is why we have custodial departments. That is why clean schools are so crucially important. And once we understand the why, then we've got to get working on the how, right? How exactly do we clean? How exactly do we use a sanitizer? How exactly do we use a disinfectant? What the hell is a dwell time? Why is it so important? Why is it important to clean before we disinfect? All the different procedures, especially with some of the new technologies that are now available to people in terms of helping make the cleaning process more efficient. And then, of course, those basic cleaning principles, the correct use of PPE, and overall safety. And one of the things that is coming very soon under the Partners in Protection Program is an actual sample training plan that will go month by month and explain exactly where the training should occur. And if Clint and Dan have not introduced you yet to the SSS Mobile Coach app, where you can easily access a number of different training videos, please, please, please ask them to do so. Ask them to get you acclimated with this particular program. However, I do want to point out and stress that while web-based training and mobile application training is extremely helpful, and it's great to reinforce what we learn, nothing replaces good old-fashioned hands-on demonstration training in person. Step 3. We've got our protocols. We've put our people in the right position for success. Now, how are we going to prove that we are, in fact, delivering a healthy, safe indoor environment? It starts with setting a standard for cleanliness. Now, the Partners in Protection Program recommends 2 specific rating systems, both the APA, that's the Facility Managers in Higher Education, 5 levels of clean, as well as a proprietary SSS rating system known as the Tier C or SSS Inspection and Evaluation Rating System for Cleanliness, which is based on 4 color-coded tiers. But what you want, what you need to do is say, we are going to expect this level of cleanliness, and we are going to hold our cleaning service professionals accountable to that. Now, that does not mean that when we perform inspections, we are out there looking for mistakes and errors. Because what we can use inspections to do is not only to be very powerful teaching moments. Okay, listen, we're not quite meeting the mark with the restroom on the 2nd floor near Mrs. Jones' 2nd grade class, right? Let's do some refresher training, but also celebrate the successes when we're doing things the right way. It all is based on a quality plan. And what a quality plan defines is when inspections will occur, right? And we saw within the protocols a recommended benchmark for how often we should be inspecting different items, surfaces, and areas. What specific rooms, areas will be inspected. Who will perform the inspection? What process will be used in terms of, will we be simply relying on our senses, our eyes, our nose, et cetera, et cetera? Will we be using black lights and UV marking where we wipe the surface prior to cleaning, where we put a mark on the surface prior to cleaning, then we go back the next day to see if the mark has actually been removed, or whether we go the full step and implement ATP monitoring. And then also making sure that we've got a process for full reporting, because we want to make sure we are communicating our success to the superintendent, to the Board of Education, to the parents, to the teachers, to everybody who could possibly care. CABE also has full access to a very easy to use mobile inspection platform called the SSS Gateway System. And what Gateway is in its essence is it is a centralized data hub that is truly a blank canvas for the mobile collection and reporting of any data you want. So it is an application on your phone or on your tablet that allows you to perform cleanliness inspections and gather any and all data that you could possibly want, with photo evidence, with full confidentiality guarantees, and full reporting capabilities. I strongly encourage you to talk with Dan and to talk with Clint about how you can implement the Gateway program as part of your inspection protocols. Okay, we are going to be taking those specific protocols within the Partners in Protection program and building assessments and inspections based on those protocols, because the key here is to make sure that we are in fact living up to the standard that we've set. And then communication, because we know we need to meet heightened expectations. We know we need to instill confidence in all the stakeholders. And so what do we want to do? We want to make sure we have hand hygiene signage throughout our schools, reminding of the importance of hand hygiene and reminding of the proper process for hand hygiene. But also general signage stressing commitment. How many times have you been out and about recently and you've seen some kind of a sign where it says, you know, we're committed to your health, or we are cleaning this facility, or you see all these different commercials and ads that I mentioned where they're bragging about what they're doing to clean the plane and what they're doing to clean the hotel, and the car dealership is going to keep you clean, all this stuff. Well, we need to instill that sense of confidence as well. And so what we want to do is have this signage available in order to brag about what we're doing, in order to make sure that mom and dad and Mrs. Jones knows exactly what we're doing to protect the health and the safety of the occupants. And also, the program has a sample stakeholder letter that you can easily customize with your information on your letterhead that says that, you know, the Wagner School District number 42 is working in partnership with CABE Sanitary Supply and has implemented the SSS Partners in Protection program. The SSS Partners in Protection program sets forth a series of best practice protocols for cleaning and disinfection with the exclusive goal of protecting the health and safety of the students, teachers, and staff. A simple letter like that helps instill that sense of confidence. Here's some example of the different signage that we talked about. On the left, of course, we have our sanitize hands, stay healthy. And look at this really simple, very straightforward message that we can put in the lobbies of our schools, on our bulletin boards, in the teacher's lounge, in the general office area. Together, we keep it clean. Your health is our top priority. For everyone's protection, we have adopted the SSS Partners in Protection program. Together, we will keep our schools clean, safe, and healthy. Straightforward, simple, direct, but it speaks about what it is you're doing to instill that sense of confidence. And I have no idea if you guys can hear me because my computer just went completely blank. Clint, okay. Can you guys still see my screen? Dan, give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen. Okay, let's get back to where we were. I have absolutely no clue what happened there. Here is also a couple of resources that are very powerful for you to share with the superintendents, with the teachers, with the board members, with the parents, with everybody. What we've also created, because the protocols themselves are very content dense There's a lot of information included in those Excel sheets. We've tried to make them more visually pleasing by creating a whole series of individual room sheets similar to what you see here. We've got one that outlines the entire program that is titled Custodial Plan, and then we also have them for each individual room type. As you can see, the sample classroom here, Clint and Dan, you can see I have stolen our good friends at ChemCrafts ones here. All you need to do is reach out to our very good friend, Mr. Matt Kelleher, and say, I love those sheets. I'd like them customized with our logo as well. Okay, the full Partners in Protection program. First and foremost, we got to recognize the needs, right? That's what we tell Dan and Clint to do all the time. When you're going to go out there and you want to help your customers, the very first thing you have to do is recognize their needs. In this case, it's easy, right? We know you need to implement a comprehensive cleaning and disinfection program. You have to do it. Safety, basic precaution of safety now is having this program. We know you need it. We know that the guidance out there, if I may say, stinks. Thanks for nothing, says the angry cat. So we know you need it. Then let's set those protocols based on best practices so that they meet your specific circumstances. Let's establish a comprehensive scope of work that defines what needs to be serviced, how often it needs to be serviced, who's going to do the surfacing, and what it's going to look like when it's done. And then identify products in order to maximize success, because the budgetary concerns are very real, and we need to do everything we can to minimize the financial impact. And then train and educate all stakeholders through in-person demonstration training and also through reinforcement training with Mobile Coach. And finally, inspecting, monitoring, and reporting on your success using that quality plan and hopefully the Gateway platform. Now, before I open it up for questions, and I'm assuming that my good friend Matt Kelleher can make sure that everybody is unmuted, I am going to show you the single most important slide in this deck. And that is this one. I am here to help. You see, once you're on a webinar with Dan Wagner, you become my friend. And once you're my friend, I am here to help you in any way you can. You are facing extremely challenging times. You are facing a situation that is truly, and I'm going to use all the cliches in the book right now, Clint, I see you smiling, that is truly unprecedented. There's uncertainty. The cases are skyrocketing, they're surging, they're spiking, they're soaring, and we have to be in a position to respond to this. That's my cell number, that's my email. You can text me, you can call me, you can email me. I am happy to help in any way I can. Once again, I am going to send this full presentation to Clint and to Dan so they can share it with you so that you've got this contact information. And then I would encourage you, talk with Dan and Clint about how you can implement the Partners in Protection program, because what we are trying to do is take one key thing and make it as easy as possible for you. You have got such a long checklist of things you need to do right now. Wouldn't it feel good to be able to knock one right off and to be able to brag to everybody who's concerned about this that you are taking the right steps?